second?
There you go.
All righty. It is 3 minutes after 6, and we do have a quorum. All members are here, and 4 of us are in person, and Sean is here via Zoom. This is the NPU Board of Commissioners and Sewer Authority meeting, March 22nd, 2022, and I'm calling it to order. I would note that in order to effectively run the meeting online, I'd like everyone to announce their name and title before speaking if they are joining us via WebEx. And the first item on the agenda is the 15-minute public comment period. And so if there's anyone, any member of the public who would like to comment, please speak up now.
Do you see signatures around on me?
There are no members online. Yeah, all right, I don't believe we have any members of the public on board. Because of the reality of WebEx and online participation, I think we can loosen the rules a little bit. If someone calls in and wants to comment, they should let us know, and we will try to make an adjustment to take care of them, but otherwise, we can declare the public comment period closed. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, and I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes of the last regular meeting of NPU, the NPU Sewer Authority of February 22nd, 2022.
Make that motion, Bob.
Bill has made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Sean seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? There are none. So the meeting minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is action items. As part of our bylaws, each time a commissioner is appointed or reappointed, we are required to reconstitute as a board. Stuart Peel has been reappointed. He was reappointed unanimously by the City Council last night. And I should report I was there and spoke, and multiple members of the council had glowing things to say about, certainly Stuart, but the entire board here of the Norwich Public Utilities and the job we're doing. And it was a warming thing to see. So he was appointed, as I say, to another 5-year term. He's been an outstanding member of the board, and NPU is very fortunate to be able to count on his leadership in the years ahead. What we need to do is vote on appointments or reappointments to our officers, subcommittee assignments, appointments to CMEC and NCDC, et cetera. We can make our nominations and then have a vote on the entire slate of candidates for these offices. Do we have any discussion on that?
Yeah, we haven't talked about it previously. I don't know if we should ask people what they wanted in the way of an office, if they wanted to be in a different office than they currently are. I would request to move to the chair position if just to that. Of course, we'll have to vote on it. And I didn't know if anybody else had a strong desire to be in a different position than they currently are. Obviously, we'll need a new vice chair. So,
well, I'm available if you need me.
okay.
Right now, I'm secretary. I just sign papers for Laura. That's what I do.
Right, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. So,
more work to be vice.
all right. So, if you become the vice chair, then someone's got to be the secretary.
I'm saying I'm available.
I know.
If you need me. Now, maybe Bill would.
I'm just saying we've got to move people around. So.
I would be happy to help
Yeah,
out anyway.
I'll fill in anywhere that I need to, you know, for any position or any chair that needs to be filled. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure to keep us moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
Well,
I'm happy to stay where I am. And these other two folks, Sean and Bill, are, willing to move up and take more responsibility. So,
okay.
why don't we let them?
the case, we have Bill as a potential vice chairman or as treasurer, and we have Sean as potential vice chairman or treasurer. Again,
Yeah, we don't have a treasurer involved.
Secretary.
oh, secretary, I'm sorry.
Yeah, CMEC has a treasurer.
Yeah.
And I've already got that job, you can't have it.
What are the positions that there are? Second, 4 or 5?
Great.
Just 3.
There's president, there's chairman,
Vice chair.
vice chairman,
And secretary.
secretary,
And in our 2 subcommittees, for leaders of the subcommittees, economic development and audit and finance.
okay, so I've got audit and finance right now, right? So, someone can take secretary for me if they want it, because I get 2 things. It's good to have everybody involved.
I also, serve both the, finance and audit and economic development, so, Sean, I mean, if you wanna be the vice chair, that's fine by me, and I'll stay on those 2 committees.
You're gonna chair the audit, you're gonna chair the economic development committee?
No, but Bob.
Yeah, don't forget, Bob can still have positions here.
There you go.
Back, so. You can also kick back and, relax, because you've led for 3 years, and we appreciate that effort for the last 3 years as well, so.
Sean, would you wanna do that? This is Bill Wazika,
You want me to take over the vice chair?
vice chair, and then serve stay on the, economic development committee?
That sounds like a plan.
I would stay on 2 that I'm on.
You'd be on the 2 committees.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
All right, so we need
So,
nominations.
Does that even up things for everybody?
Yeah, everyone looks happy here.
Let me try to recap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stuart.
I can see your smiling. I can see your smiling faces too. Thank you.
Stuart will become chairman, and he will continue as the CMEC representative. Sean will, become vice chairman and will, remain as a member of the Economic Development Committee. Michael will remain chairman of the Finance and Audit Committee, and I and Bill will remain on that.
Remain a secretary too? Bob, is that what you want?
If you want, or Bill can do secretary, it doesn't matter. It's not,
You wanna do secretary, Bill?
What have you been doing, you said you don't mind doing it.
No, I don't mind doing it, there really isn't, it's kind of just sign stuff occasionally, you don't really have to do much.
Happy to fill in for you as secretary.
Sure, go ahead.
all right, Bill will be secretary. I guess for the time being, I'd like to stay on as chairman of Economic Development and the MCDC rep. And I think that's it.
But also, if you're gonna talk about the reps, we got NCDC and we have CMEC.
Yeah, we mentioned that, so,
I'm the rep, and you're the alternate, correct?
yeah, that's right.
All right. We'll keep that, and you're the NCDC rep as well.
That sounds good to me. Everybody happy with that? Good. All right. So let's have a motion to accept the new slate of officers and representatives and so forth.
I'll make a motion to accept the new slate of officers.
Thank you, Michael. Do we have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. And do we have any abstentions? Okay, we do not, so we have a new slate of officers. Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you, Robert.
And I think, one thing that needs to be said is, thank you for the leadership in the last 3 years, Bob, and Mike, also for your taking on leadership roles in the last 3 years as well. I think the utility's come a long way in the last 3 years, and it's not just because of the people in this building. The leadership and governance that you have provided, has really made us come back to a very stable position and regaining the trust of the community and our customers. So thank you.
thank you very much, but, I mean, I think it's been a team, and I think, you and all the staff have been great, so. All right, so,
Yeah, so Bob, we did have, comment period, but, we did have, Matt Rand has joined the meeting.
okay, Matt, I understand you're on the line and would like to make a public comment, please do so. Or don't. Let me try again. Matt Gran, are you on the line anywhere? On the WebEx site? We'd like to hear your comments. If you're not there, we're not gonna be able to. All right, and there's no one on the line?
He's there, muted. He may be having difficulties, and he may just not desire to speak, could be either one.
All right, and did you say you're muted?
Shows us.
All right, Matt, again, Bob Staley is the outgoing chairman. It appears as though you're muted. If you want to speak, please let us know, and if not, we're going to move on. All right, well, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is information update provided to the board prior to tonight's meeting. Are there any questions for Chris or the staff on the materials that were provided in the board packets last week? That included the leadership team template, the financial update, and the strategic plan update.
Oh, Chris Riley?
Yeah, just for a governance issue, you're not the chairman anymore, so we gotta be very careful about the minutes and how things are run with the meetings. If there's been a vote to change who the chairman is, we can't have a non-chairman running the meeting.
Well, hang on, the way we've typically done it is we'll take it to the next meeting. So even though we made the vote tonight, Bob will run tonight's meeting and I'll run the next meeting. That's what we've typically done. Is that right, Tom?
That's what we did when I replaced Grace, for example.
I don't believe so, but
Yes,
I just want to be careful about this sort of thing for posterity.
I think as long as, we're reflecting that, where Bob is going to continue to run the meeting, and all votes are taken, anyone can run the meeting in the absence of the chair. Usually goes to vice chair and then to another member.
I'm gonna deputize Bob.
I have to be careful.
All right, anyway, back to item 5, which is information and update. Do we have any questions for Chris on the strategic plan, the financial update, or the leadership team template? Bill?
Yeah, Chris, under the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, that middle paragraph, maybe you or Larry can say, so I see some dates in there, in that middle paragraph, March 13th, and the comments were addressed by CDM Smith and sent to DEP on April 7th, and for you received approval of the from D fund, page 28. What is the year of those dates? Is it 2021?
Let's see, so that's the leadership team update?
Yeah. Under
Page 7.
Okay.
See, the first paragraph,
Okay.
it's not a big deal, but what I guess I'm wondering is, where do we stand now? Are we still on track to maybe go out to start construction in the fall of this year?
Yeah, so we had a meeting with Nisha and Carlos and some other members up there. Everything is progressing well. You've had additional comments, have you not, Larry? Maybe you
Carlos
can-
has supplied a lot of comments back to CDM Smith directly, and they've answered them very quickly. So he's trying, it's a lot to catch up on, and it kind of got dropped into his lap. He's actually missing a lot of information. So he has everything he needs now, and he's brought up to speak very quick.
So we're still on track?
Yeah, they said it was one of the number one priorities. So we're on track.
Yeah. In addition, we requested a new Our financial person, Hank, has retired up there.
Olszewski?
Yeah, Olszewski, yep, I'm glad you can say it better than I can, Bill. But Hank has had forever, and it's been great working with Hank. He retired just around Christmas time, and, so we requested a new person. Carlos is still a point person for all technical and for submittals, but Hank's replacement has not been provided yet.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions on any of these three topics?
Right, and then, strategic plan update, which is included in here. This will be the last of this format. We, are meeting again tomorrow to finalize the draft, and then, Michelle will be, tasked with, coming up with an afternoon, we're gonna do a workshop, probably about 2 hours, to review the work we've done and incorporate any, board comments, and then we'll present this to the board and to, the public in the, April-May timeframe.
All right, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the CMAC update. Commissioner Peel.
Well, thank you. Robert. All right, so CMAC board met on February 24th. The master dashboard for January had a few up arrows, with the cost deviation to benchmark value coming in 11% above budget. The all-in total member return, however, was 11% below budget due to continued volatility in the energy and gas market. Essentially what this means is that we paid a little bit more, 11% more for electricity than what was budgeted, but our competition, or the so-called deviation to benchmark value, was also 11% above what was projected of them. So we had a price increase, but they had a bigger price increase. So that's the way that worked out. The January project portfolio is below budget, but only by $30,000 or 3% below budget. Positive drivers were the Hydro-Quebec and energy storage. One negative driver was transmission project number 1. Microgen and community solar garden were even for the month. And there were continued delays with the sub-base fuel cell project, which is expected to be commissioned now in mid-May. The energy market side of the business was impressive for January, with our hedge position coming in at roughly $90 per megawatt hour, compared to the average LNP price, which was $152 per megawatt hour, with a savings of over $60 per megawatt hour. So 90, of course, is considerably higher than we typically pay, but we were expecting this winter to have a much higher cost. The LNP, of course, is at 152, so we were well below that. The board was joined by Brian Forshaw of Energy Market Advisors, LLC, who provided the status on activities in ISO New England that could impact CMAC and the member MEUs. Of note in this presentation were future grid initiatives to study grid reliability and developments in the capacity markets, and FERC Order 2222 to factor in clean energy into the capacity markets and allow aggregators of distributed energy resources to supply the wholesale market. So that's something we've talked about before. Right now, solar and wind are not in the capacity markets. They've been essentially ordered to go do that somehow, figure that out. That'll be interesting to see how they do that. And lastly, the board reviewed changes to the CMAC investment policy and approved a resolution to accept the revised policy. Those were mostly editorial changes and clarification of existing investment policy, so no major changes there. All right, and that's all I had.
All right, do we have any questions? And hearing none, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is Finance and Audit Subcommittee update to Commissioner Wolfland. You always like that music.
I love the musical accompaniment. We met on today's March 22. We met on March 8th, and had an interesting meeting. We had went over a draft of the 22-23 budget. That's going to be gone over again since the meeting, under, I guess, Laura's leadership. But we also digressed into considering a more condensed type of report that, let's face it, people have 5 or 10 minutes to look at things at a meeting sometimes, and when it's 30, 40 pages, you can't really do that and really understand them and get an impression. With a condensed report, maybe 3 or 4 pages, not, too many columns on each page. Probably, I've been thinking about what I initially suggested and probably cut that back. I'll probably just have the year-to-date columns instead of the quarter and the year-to-date. I think, you can have the previous year-to-date one to look at, or the previous year's year-to-date one to compare it to, rather, I should say, on a separate piece of paper if you want to see it. And it is good to compare it, but I know Laura's putting it together, right, or will be
We'll have a draft for the Finance and Audit Committee meeting.
at the May meeting. Okay, thank you. So if you don't mind, I'd love to see it as it progresses on occasion.
Sure.
Maybe after April 15, though, because I really can't do it right now, but,
Sure.
maybe sometime in, the last 2 weeks of April, we could just go over it quickly. And, at any rate, it's designed to kind of help people understand if we're heading in the right direction and not getting too lost in the weeds, just kind of looking at the overview of things. And also coming up with to supplement the condensed financials, some key performance indicators. And we saw some graph versions of key performance indicators that were presented by Laura and Steve. And my idea, my thought, is to have numerical key performance indicators at this point in time and at this point in time to see how the numbers change. And you can still have the graph, but, without key ratios at several points in time, which points in time I'm not sure at the moment, but I imagine, at the end of the period, obviously, we're discussing, and maybe at the end of the period of the prior year, maybe a few other graph points, I'm not sure, but just, a few critical measurements that the management team thinks is going to be informative to us, and, try to present it in that fashion. So, that was really the gist of what we talked about as far as getting a streamlined financial presentation that certainly not to replace what we have here. We need this because, if there's questions about things, we got to deep dive, and we can because we have this, and it's a great job. The only other thing is, I asked Laura if we could put the totals down below, and I see that on this one they are. And I'm not sure if that's everywhere now or not, but.
This is the budget that you have in front of you?
Yeah.
It has the totals at the bottom. We haven't changed the formatting yet for the financials.
Yeah, but that can be done, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I just think it's so much easier to read it that way, at least for me. Yeah, thank you very much. That was good.
It's like a game show, Mike.
It just shot me.
And Mike, our audit is complete, and we're looking at having the auditors present at the next meeting. More to come if, on that, but,
I'll be following up with our auditor on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do we have any questions for Mike? I'm hearing none. We move on to strategic presentations. We have two strategic presentations tonight. Energy cost impact presentation and budget presentation. Chris, how do you want to proceed?
all right, well, I think Stu kicked it off, well with the increase in costs at CMEC. And increase in costs are caused by natural gas prices, which elevate electric wholesale prices, which roll into our our cost as the distribution company. Steve will go over all the factors that are going into some of these increases in costs and, some of the, how we're gonna deal with it.
And luckily, it sounds like some of our numbers jive, which is good. Okay. Let's see. As big as it gets. It's up there, but I handed it out to everyone as well. So I'm going to provide an overview of forecasted natural gas and electric energy costs and the markets and spending forecasts and things of that nature. Going on to page 2, there are a number of factors impacting energy costs right now. It didn't change, John. There it goes. Sorry, this is fast following. In the natural gas market, we talked about this previously. The Texas Eastern Pipeline, which is the interstate pipeline that brings our natural gas to the Gulf of Mexico, they implemented a rate change that was effective on February 1st, 2022. The other thing is the natural gas storage levels are 15% below the 5-year average. Storage levels is a key market fundamental that traders use to determine where the price of natural gas is going to go. And the fact that it's below the 5-year average is an indicator that there's a shortage of natural gas, which will drive the price up. European demand for natural gas is influencing and increasing prices domestically. The global demand for LNG remains high, and it's increasing, and we are increasing LNG supplies to Europe. NYMEX natural gas futures for fiscal year 22, our forecasted average was $2.96 per decatherm, so it was well below $3, or it was just below $3. Our actual, with our forecast through June, will be $4.87, and that's just our basic commodity that's traded down at Henry Hub in Louisiana. LNG markets, this has been increasing for the past year. They're averaging $35 a decatherm compared to $10 to $15 historically. We've always paid about $8 to $14 for liquid natural gas here in Norwich when we buy it. But again, it's averaging $35 because it is a global market that we're in now. And my understanding from news articles is that in fiscal year in calendar year 22, the U.S. is going to be the leading LNG exporter in the world. 5 years ago, we didn't export any LNG from the United States, so that's huge. To offset that, our AMA payment, which we received from our gas supplier and capacity manager, we negotiated an option with them to extend our agreement for another year, and that increased our AMA payment by $439,000 from November of 21 to October 23. Yes, Mike?
I have a question, sorry, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question. The liquid gas, do we get it directly from fracking, or does it have to be processed? How does that work?
It's got to be processed. It's probably from, our liquid natural gas, we do get trucked out of Pennsylvania. So
Get out of the Pennsylvania fracking field?
Yeah, so those are probably coming, most likely, they're coming out of fracking fields, but it's processed.
It's compressed and frozen, Mike, so
Yeah.
highly dense, and it expands and vaporizes roughly 300 times more.
It's what?
It's a liquid that vaporizes. What's the exact number, Barry? Huh? 600 to 1.
So when it goes through the pipe, it's already expanded?
No, it has to go through a vaporizer to turn into a gaseous state, and then it gets.
So So they take it from a gaseous state, compress it to a liquid state,
Truck it,
and they diffuse, what you say,
and then they truck it to us,
yeah.
goes into a thermos bottle, and then we vaporize it out into a gaseous state.
We do that here?
Yes.
I'd like to see how that's done sometime.
Pretty interesting. It's negative, what, 250 degrees Fahrenheit? It's very cold.
So it has to be refrigerated when they truck it here.
It's a cryogenic liquid, yeah.
If not, it could be a nasty situation. That's extreme.
Yeah. So, we run the plant in the winter only. There's not enough load in the summer to run that plant. So next time we run it, Mike, we can invite you to come and see it.
Thank you, yeah, I'd love to. Interesting.
This is the point of the vision.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Steve, how does this affect current prices to our customers?
I'm gonna get into that. So I'm gonna get into what the impact that it has on our expenses. And then the next quarter, we're gonna get into a little more, exactly what the impact would be to our customers.
I meant to say, when I drove in, the train was going by, and there was 2 liquid natural gas tankers, at the end of the train. Did they stop here?
No.
No, just.
It doesn't usually come by train. That might have been liquid propane. Not liquid
propane, maybe it
Liquid
was.
propane is often transferred by rail car. Liquid natural gas, not usually. It's usually by a trailer that's pulled by a truck.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We used to have a propane plant back here that would supplement our gas system with, and they would bring it in by rail car. We used to have the facilities here to unload it.
You don't do it anymore?
No.
Those were decommissioned about 10 years ago.
Okay, all of the factors that are impacting the cost of natural gas are also impacting electric, because natural gas and crude market can impact the electric cost because they're used for generation. Oil is an alternative to fuel to natural gas in addition. A lot of industrial sites will use the dual fuel option, and they'll switch back and forth depending on what the price is. So that impacts price as well. Oil obviously has increased significantly in price since 2020, December 2020, just over a year ago. It was $50 a barrel. I didn't see what it was today, but it was recently well over $100 a barrel. So that's doubled. And generation costs are up 21%, and transmission costs are up 10%. In addition, weather predictions always influence market behavior. That's another signal that traders get, whether it's going to be colder or warmer, depending on what the season is. So those are things that impact the price as well. Ukraine-Russian conflict. I'm not going to read all of these, but these are excerpts from industry articles regarding the Ukraine-Russia conflict, specifically Goldman Sachs, S&P Global, Platts, and Direct Energy. As I mentioned, natural gas is now a price based on a global market. So the sanctions on importing Russian oil, the shutting down of the pipeline project in Germany, the Nord Stream 2 natural gas pipeline in Germany was intended to bring natural gas into Europe from Russia, and the temporary oil and gas pipeline disruptions in the Ukraine are all impacting directly natural gas prices, as LNG is increasingly being used to offset the gaps caused by these issues. So I'm going to provide an overview of our natural gas expenses. Right now, we've highlighted some key areas in yellow. We're using April of 2021 as our baseline here, because prior to April of 2021, we had 10 years of low and stable natural gas costs. And that's when everything started taking off in April. So we're using that as a baseline because at that time, we were actually expecting the cost to go down, and that we were going to be able to drop the PPA and the PGA. Things didn't work out that way. As you know, we did an increase to the PPA and PGA in November. So just to, we did a comparison back to April, compared to, or we did the analysis at the end of February, we're comparing it back to April 2021. The first area of cost increases was on the pipeline reservation charges, which is this line right here. That was $161,000. That was the rate increase that I was talking about on Techco. Commodity charges, that's a rate increase of $2.3 million. That's a 36% increase just in commodity costs during that time. It's offset by $146,000 in asset management credits for a total increase in gas costs of $2.3 million. So $6.5 million to $8.8 million. So we did a fiscal year forecast in April of 21 and a fiscal year 22 forecast in February of 22, and that's the differences, $2.3 million. So what a difference a year makes. It's a considerable increase on gas. On the next page.
That's 33% increase, right?
I'm sorry, Mike?
That's about a 33% increase.
36% increase.
36?
Yeah.
That's a lot different than 7.5 or 8% inflation.
A lot different.
So how much of this gets passed on to our consumers?
100%.
But, I mean, as a percentage of their bill, how much gets passed on to the consumers?
Well, what we'll do is, and I can show you on this chart, this is on a monthly basis. The blue is how much more we're paying. The orange is what was budgeted for this fiscal year. The blue is what we paid, and this is the winter month, so you can see how much more we were paying. The difference on from a budget perspective was, our budget was $6.9 million, and our actual forecast through the end of June is going to be $8.8 million. So that gets passed on to our customers, but we don't change our PGA every single month. So what we try to do again is we try to create stability in our rates. So what we'll do is we'll try to recover this overage over a longer period of time, maybe a year to 18 months if we can. So if we're going to be recommending a PGA change in the next couple of months, and that will be designed to recover those costs over a long period of time, so it doesn't impact our customers that great.
In the graph, I don't see where you're ever recouping anything here. The blue columns are higher than the orange columns.
This is just correct. So where it's higher than expected, we aren't recovering that cost from our customers. That's where our cash reserves are used to pay for that gas during that time. And then what we will do is we'll recoup that cost from our customers at a future date over a longer period of time.
And how long of a period of time?
Well, we're going to lay out the analysis for you, present that in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, to minimize the impact to customers.
You know, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how the hell we ever get, to where the costs are equal by what the revenues are.
We do an analysis, and we do every single month.
But, Mike, when you're paying $3.30 a gallon for gasoline, and now some places are pushing almost $5 a gallon, you immediatly get that. You might get that before they even, change what's in the tanks. They up those to the daily amount. We try to soften this out and stretch it out, right?
Yeah.
We're trying not to make our customers react this fast. And the market forces that drove this up may change depending on how long this war goes out, some of the other global factors, right? This is more than just, not quite enough to keep up with demand. This is many factors.
So the last 10 years, we really didn't see anything like this, right?
No.
How about prior to that, did we ever have a situation
Oh.
like this?
Yeah, I think 2001 was the first year gas was $2. From 1992 to 2001, it went to $8 during that winter in 2001. And then it's been as high as $14 a decatherm, I think, in mid-2000s. It was really volatile in the 2000 to 2010 timeframe until they discovered all this Marcellus Shale in Pennsylvania.
And added pipeline capacity.
And added pipeline capacity, that's the key thing.
So do we kind of push it out, or stretch it out over a period of time to get back what we increase the bill, like we're doing now? Sort of the same thing?
Yeah.
And when we do that, we look at 5 years of market data in the future, and look at our load growth. So, we're not only looking back, we're looking forward, and we're picking, and we're analyzing that from a standpoint of what would be the best PGA that can recover future costs as well as past costs while minimizing impact to customers. And we look at that, once we set that, we're still looking at that every single month and analyzing it to making sure that we're tracking where we're supposed to be.
But if I understand it, if the question is, what do our customers pay? Our customers pay a combination of the PPA or the PGA and our internal costs for staff, capital, repairs, and all of those sorts of things. And that has been under, control. So it's a blended payment that they make. And I mean, I don't know, how do those things weigh? I mean, 50-50 or 25-75 roughly, or?
It's been as low as, energy 30% and all the other costs 70.
Yeah.
Two flips.
Yeah.
And more recently, it's been around 50-50, but with these additional, energy costs, I'd say it's probably more in the 60-40 range, would be my guess. So a 36% increase in energy costs doesn't relate to a 36% increase on customers' bills. It's just,
A few years ago, just by accident, I got on a tour, on a little mini tour with some of the fracking operations in Pennsylvania. It was put on by Old Dominion, or Dominion rather. Old Dominion's a college. Dominion. And so they brought us, all the people who were on the tour with the antique cars, they brought us into this room about the size of this. And the gentleman said this was the first time they had been trying to explain this to the public groups. And, he had maps and showed where all the fields were and everything. It was pretty interesting. And then I was there, and my friend Larry was there from here, Eastern Connecticut representatives, so to say, with our wives. And as this guy was explaining everything, some lady with a high-pitched voice behind me started complaining about climate change and what were they doing and everything, which, of course, was way beyond this guy's control, I turned around, it was my friend's wife. I'm sorry for the digression there, but I thought I'd share that with you.
Do you think, I don't see the situation in Ukraine going well at all, and Europe depends on their gas tremendously, and they may, cut themselves off from it, but they're gonna be in serious trouble if they do that from an energy standpoint. Are we in a position in this country to ramp up production enough to send them enough LNG to keep them going?
that's a hard question to answer.
Probably not enough tankers in the world, I wouldn't think.
Probably not. And what we've seen recently, based on what I've been reading, is that Asia is outbidding Europe right now for liquid natural gas, paying up to $60 or $70 a decatherm to get the gas into Asia. So, I don't know what's causing that, but where Europe, badly needs natural gas and then countries in Asia are outbidding them, it's a strange situation.
Yesterday that they might actually get some more coal plants going, just because
Yeah.
it's better than starving, essentially, for as long as they need to, until they can get other, forms of energy going. It might take, 5 or 10 years.
And it could be a real issue if some of the nuke plants in Ukraine are taken out.
Yeah. Oh, exactly, yeah, exactly, I don't know.
That's huge.
So Germany's their nuclear plants are gonna go offline this year, and there's no plan of keeping them going. And, not sure what Japan's doing, I think they're gonna, I guess they still have nuclear going, I'm not sure if they did the same thing Germany did, and they're gonna get out of it because of Fukushima, but.
There's a lot of opposition to
They
it.
made a lot of decisions a few years ago, and they're all like, I think they're going in the right direction, now they're really stuck. Yeah.
But it's a global commodity, so if the need for LNG increases,
Yeah.
The cost goes up, but our costs go up as well. Set by the state market.
Backyard, not our backyard.
Right, and it impacts New England even more than, you know, we look at the NYMEX cost, that's one thing, but in New England, LNG is used to supplement our pipeline supplies up here. So we're really impacted by the cost of LNG during winter months. Yeah, here's a similar chart for electric expenses, again, using April of '21 as baseline. The biggest impact here is the generation service charge, which is a $4 million increase. That's a 21.2% increase. That's energy, generation service charge, that's the energy portion. Transmission, I said that was increasing, that's increasing $337,000. And that's offset by our fixed cost obligation, a decrease in that area of $260,000. I believe that's attributed to the Pierce unit, selling that unit and that not being in our fixed cost obligation payments anymore. So,
And just on that, Steve, we had a meeting with Pat, me, and the other next staff on Monday. We're expecting to get the true up there, just finalizing those final costs of the transaction. We're expecting that meeting to happen in the next few weeks to find out exactly what our impact is and how we're gonna pay that over time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the net impact there is $4.1 million, so from just over $23 million to $27.5 million. On the next page. Again, this is shown graphically for the budget year, fiscal year '22. The black line showing the forecasted expenses for electric, the green line showing the budget. It's gone from $24.8 million to $27.6 million, $2.8 million increase, 11.3% on our electric expenses. And Stu, I think you had mentioned 11% earlier.
Yeah.
Increased cost, so. Two different sources, but we get the same one. Okay. What does all this mean? Well, obviously energy costs continue to trend high. We did revise the PGA in November 1st to take into account that first round of increased costs. But our forecast is currently indicating the need to adjust the PGA and PPA within the next few months to recover all these ongoing energy costs. So we're going to continue to analyze and to provide recommendation to the board at the April meeting for June 1st implementation for the revised PPA and PGA. That's our plan right now.
And if things continue to be volatile, the likelihood is we will make another adjustment in the fall, hopefully in a better direction, but it could go either way. Sometimes you can just kind of let it put it on cruise control, not likely in these markets.
Well, you know, the reality is those are just facts. Something we're doing right or wrong or indifferent. It's, look, it costs us to buy the product and it gets through the customers. There's no way to avoid that.
And the competition is facing the same forces.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a differentiator between us and the surrounding IOUs.
You don't feel that CMEC gives us any advantage in purchasing by the hedging practices?
Well, hedging is good for the period they hedge. There's only so much they can do, and that's why, you know, as Stuart reported, they're seeing an 11% increase, 11.3% increase. So, these are unforeseen forecasts, you know, from our forecasts. Hard to protect against all that.
Well, I think having said that, CMAC does give us an advantage. It's just not an enormous advantage. And, you know, I think others are paying, Eversource and whatnot are paying more.
Yeah, we still have a 2 or 3 cent advantage, but everyone's cost is gonna go up. Eversource's is gonna go up and ours is gonna go up, so we'll try to keep our advantage, but costs are gonna keep going up at this rate. not much we can do. People are expecting to peak out in about March and come back down, now I don't know where it's gonna go. It's level off at $150 all summer.
Right. And Eversource is changing their PPA every month, PGA.
PGA every January and July.
Yes.
Yeah, so the electric changes every July, so.
And just Mike, for perspective, our electric costs, because of CMAC in part, are below that of Eversource. CMAC doesn't do anything with gas, and our gas costs are marginally above of Eversource, or taking here for the phone, so, I mean, that's pretty clear case of the benefit.
Yeah, well, it's gonna affect everybody. The big problem is it affects everybody, so it's gonna fight into your budget.
This rolls through to every product.
Yeah, and it'll go and then it'll just hurt inflation that much more, so we're already up in a bad percentage, and it's not gonna get better, so that's nice.
All right, well, thank you very much. Do you have any other questions? And if not, we'll move on to the overview of the proposed budget.
Right. So, we've had several meetings with the Finance and Audit Committee where all of the subject matter experts presented the drivers for their budgets. They're all here to answer questions. Laura, as she always does, an outstanding job of assembling all of the data, making it balanced, and putting it in a format that's easy to digest, well, relatively easy. So Laura will go through, and if there's any detailed questions as she's going through this, feel free to reach out, and all of our subject matter experts are here. Laura?
So as Chris said, we're going to do an overview of the fiscal 23 budget. We're going to walk through the first page of the budget. Document was provided to everybody, so if you have your budget draft there, we're going to walk through the first page of that, which is the summary of activities of the department as a whole, budget for fiscal 23. The proposed budget reflects our costs necessary to meet our priorities of economic development investment in Norwich, proactive investment in our utility infrastructure, meeting or exceeding our local, state, and federal regulatory requirements, exceeding our customer expectations for customer service and reliability, and deploying technology for the continued benefit of NPU and the city. As Chris mentioned, we did have our budget presentations on January 4th and February 15th, where we went in detail in each of the divisions and our support areas. Next slide. So the budget starts with our rates. We are in year 3 of our rate track that was approved by the board in 2020. The budget includes revenues that reflect the rate change. This is effective November 1st of 2022. This is the last year of our 3-year track. Next slide. So revenues and expenses. Fiscal 23, we are budgeting $101 million in sales revenue. From a budget perspective, this is the first time we've cracked the $100 million mark. Our other revenues are a little over $3 million, for a total of $104 million in revenue for fiscal 23. Operating expenses are budgeted at $101 million. So our operating income at $3.1 million. The net capital impact, and this is the cumulative impact of depreciation, interest, debt service expense, our capital purchases, and any capital contributions and financing that we receive. And that impact is negative $650,000. So our net change for fiscal 23 is $2.5 million, which is just a slight decrease from fiscal 22. And that's the first top two-thirds of your budget this is running you.
This is a nice summary because it's concise and you don't get lost in too much detail. And kind of like what I had in mind, maybe a little even more so, but I appreciate it very much.
I wanted to hit the high points, make sure that we saw what was important.
Yeah.
Excellent.
The bottom line did go down, right? I mean, we went from a net change of 2.798 to 2.533.
Yep.
But it seems like the expenses are the big
They were the big
part.
driver.
It went up, well, revenues went up too, so it's not really alarming, but, the expenses did go up a bit. I suppose that, Does that include bad debt expenses from COVID?
It does include estimated bad debt expense for COVID. It also includes the additional forecasted expenditures for gas and electricity.
So to me, it's interesting to know, you know, what the drivers are for the increase in costs. But the increase in costs, you know, they don't seem extreme, I guess, so, except that our operating expenses are $800,000 under sales revenue for the prior year, and for this budget year, they're hardly any difference, only about $40,000 between the operating expenses and the sales revenues, if I understand this correctly. This other revenues, what is other revenues as opposed to sales revenue?
Other revenues include things like the funds that we receive for the jet, our jet serving credit, the sewer capital connection fees, any other miscellaneous service revenues, or any penalty revenues. So things that are not driven by the utility sales or.
Not the commodity sales, everything outside of that.
Anything outside of that.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So can I ask a question from an earlier slide? I just want to make sure I understand this. The rates, the fiscal year 23 budget summary rates.
Yes.
For sewer, we have the approved rates, which are a 6% increase per year, 2020, 2021, and 2022.
Yes.
But how long does that increase continue in order to pay for the project?
So Larry, we had CDM Smith in here looking at our affordability study and our projected rate increases. I believe that they had it at about 10 years almost at their first forecast, with continued increases over the course of that period for this project.
I think they're estimating 8% when we actually did our cost of service. We settled on 6.
Depending on the final cost back, those increases should start dropping.
Yep.
All right, but I mean, we're potentially looking at, since it's going to compound to maybe a 65% increase over 10 years.
It can be significant. We have less than 10,000 customers and a $160 million project. So any opportunity that we can find where we can look for dollars that don't have to be repaid, such as grant dollars, that type of thing, is where we really need to be focusing to support that project.
And it's not absolute, but I think if you looked at the census tract where sewer is versus septic systems, it's typically lower income folks in Norwich who have sewers. And you look at, I don't know, Scotland Road or Cherry Hill or places like that, they're septic systems.
NPU being, or Norwich being a disadvantaged community does have a significant priority level on those types of things. And we certainly want to capitalize on any opportunity that gives us that sort of preference or priority with the projects we have going forward.
Our meeting with Nisha Patel, they don't understand exactly how much extra grant may be available. We also have been working with Joe Courtney's office, Congressman Courtney's office, on another potential help to our funding. So more to come on that in the next weeks and months.
And we'll be talking about this later, but it's one of the 6, I think, top priorities of the economic development.
To slide 5. If we go into detail in the line item section of expenses, we'll start with payments to the city. The fiscal 23 payments to the city is based on 21 gross revenue. Contribution is budgeted at $8.6 million, which is a reduction of about $70,000 from the year before, and that is due to the impact of the pandemic on the overall sales for fiscal year 21. Next slide. Wholesale energy is the biggest line item on our budget. Purchased gas is budgeted at $7.4 million fiscal 23, and the costs have increased with increased cost of commodity and pipeline reservation charges, as Steve just went through. And purchased power, again, $26.9 million budgeted for fiscal 23. Also driven by the natural gas market and all the other expenses that we're seeing driving the energy market. Fiscal '23 operations payroll is budgeted at $16.7 million. Budgeted employee count has increased by 1 from fiscal year '22. Next slide. Employee benefits are budgeted $9.7 million for fiscal year '23. The health insurance budget has increased by $593,000 year over year to $2.9 million. We're looking at a potential 20% increase year over year. Cost in health insurance has continued to escalate. Our pension is budgeted at $4.6 million. The contributions are actually level compared to fiscal year '22, and this is due to the positive impact of the pension obligation bonds. Our OPEB contribution is $707,000. Contributions are $256,000 lower than the fiscal '22 budget, and this is the actuarially determined contribution. So these are determined by our actuary and annual basis.
I forget what OPEB stands for, I'm sorry.
Other post-employment benefits. This is health insurance when you retire under age 65 up to age 65.
Thank you.
Taxes, $3.5 million. The biggest driver here is our gross revenue tax at $3.3 million, which is based on revenues for the gas and the electric divisions. And we do pay property taxes in areas and localities outside of NPU for our properties outside of the city. And that's $166,000 for fiscal '23. Business insurance is budgeted at just under $2.2 million. This includes projected increases across the liability and property lines and 2 new coverages that we're working on, cyber insurance and pollution. We continue to see increased costs in the insurance market. Operations and maintenance expenses for fiscal '23 are budgeted at just a little over $7.9 million, which is an increase of $360,000 compared to fiscal year '22. Budget costs relate to safety, reliability, and our regulatory driven expenses across all 4 utilities. And we did go into detail on the O&M costs for all 4 divisions at our earlier meeting. Next slide, please. Customer service and metering department is budgeted at $917,000, which is a slight increase in fiscal year '22. The largest driver here is the payment processing fee and our outside services that include our print and management. Next slide. General administrative costs for fiscal year '23 are budgeted at $3.6 million. This includes a variety of administrative processes and activities that support our operations, from software and legal services, consulting, our department-wide safety program, web services, and a membership in our trade associations through different utilities. Next slide. General administration also includes board expenses. For fiscal year '23, we're budgeting at $676,000, which includes our support of NCDC and our investments requiring board approval for our economic development project.
And the 673 that's for fiscal year '23, right, not '22?
Yeah, there would be a typo. So 20 people have seen this, and we have missed the fiscal year '23 typo right here. But the second column would be '23. Sorry about that.
Oh, and just the other thing is board development is included in training, conferences, and seminars. And Michelle has sent out everyone the APPA conference. That is something where we budget for 2 people to go, and the NEPA, I'm sorry, APPA, NEPA, where we have budgeting for all commissioners to go. If you're interested, please reach out to Michelle. She'll work on the setup to get you going.
Next slide. And other operating expenses include our energy efficiency program at $907,000. This is based on projected revenues for energy efficiency. Depreciation is $9.4 million, which is based on our projected capital investments, and our bad debt expense, which is based on our revenue.
And that's when we'll have a more detailed look at the next board meeting, when we come out of the moratorium, and we'll talk about our collections process.
Capital investments for fiscal year '23 are budgeted at $47.7 million. This includes a wide variety of infrastructure improvements across the organization, the largest being the planned upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant. It includes across all four services, mains and services, plant improvements, investments in shared facilities, and improvements to individual components of each of those divisions. Next slide. To offset some of the cost of that capital improvement, we have funding sources from outside of NTU, including $14.2 million in grants from drinking water and clean water. And we also have $28.3 million budgeted in loans. That includes the gas bonds, the drinking water state revolving funds, and the clean water fund funding the wastewater treatment plant. And that is the budget. We get to our next step here. We've already had our presentations for our budget drivers across the organization. Today's presentation is a high-level overview. We would be looking for the board to approve the budget at either the April meeting or the May meeting, and that budget will then be rolled into the budget for the city, which is generally approved by the city council at the beginning of the year. Are there any questions on the budget? Yes?
There's a typo.
Another typo?
Page 11, I know everybody wants to call it dam maintenance, but I think you better take the N out.
That's great. Oh, the Greenville dam.
Right, so just to put that in context, so typically every new engineer here has a project of doing the upgrade on the Greenville Dam every year. Dam engineer. And it's not always spelled D-A-M. I was in that role probably in 1998. Steve's been there, I think Jeff's been there, Eric's been there, so we've all been there, the dam engineer.
I was reading, talking about tree trimming, I was reading just last week somewhere, and I think it was a current novel. But Eversource has kind of a dashboard of where they're trimming trees to advise customers what they're up to. Do you do that sort of thing here at all, and communicate with all the tree trimming efforts?
So we track them in our GIS, and we are not going out far in advance and letting people know. Eric, maybe you can go into a little bit. We do train and trim and how we do it.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a dashboard internal that we use for planning and tracking. And then for customer notifications, we notify them about a week or two in advance. Either door knocking, door hangers where we hang things on the door.
Oh, good.
So we've done social media, we had a stretch last year up Scotland Road and up on K Street, where there was a number of outages. So we put social media posts out when we were reviewing a particular area, so that people would be aware. And we deal with it.
Because people get protected with, especially shady trees and, that's good. Both sides. Right.
Some want to go
They wanted to go to their yard and things. All right, good, thank you.
I have a question, yes. I mean, one of the big factors on expense is going to be the renegotiated labor contracts. What do we do if the result is different than what we projected?
That's the same thing we do if we have a significantly colder winter, significantly hotter summer, we tighten the belt. And we go into some of those assumptions in the executive session if you like.
No, that's fine.
And what would happen is we would then roll that data into the cost of service study for the next rate track. So we might not recover it now, but it would be part of our future expenditures.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any other questions?
So, any questions for us or staff as you review in more detail the budget, feel free. And we have, it can be approved anytime in the next few months.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is to go into executive session. I would propose we go into executive session to discuss confidential, trade secret, and commercially valuable confidential or proprietary information not subject to inspection or public disclosure pursuant to Section 1-210-5 and 7-232A of the Connecticut General Statutes. This information is commercially valuable, confidential, and proprietary and is not subject to public disclosure pursuant to Public Act number 98-212. And it's also to discuss personnel matters of an employee or employees or public officials pursuant to Chapter 14 Section 206A of the Connecticut General Statutes. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. So all those in favor of going into executive session?
All right.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right.
Thanks, John. Any opposed? Any abstentions? It passes unanimously. We are in session.
Right, for executive session, we need Devin Schleight to stay, Chris Riley, Jeff Bryony, and Steve Singer. And thank you all, and, make sure there's no people left by the time you go home.
Good night. Thank you. Thanks, folks. Thank you.
Debbie, you want to go up to the table? A little closer?
Hey, guess what?
This one. I got it.
Hey, I gotta hit stop over here.
Sorry, what?
Just hit stop over here.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, John. Portion of the meeting. Please let me know, but I don't believe we do,
Nothing from staff.
which means all that we really have left to do is to adjourn. And I have a motion to adjourn in a second.
Motion to adjourn?
Bill and Mike, all those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you,
Almost
John.
forgot Sean was here.
Yeah, I'm here just taking it all in, that's all.
Okay, thank you.